Hello, guys. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing all right. I'm a student at bachelor's degree in foreign languages with emphasis in English. My name is Gerson Leandro Laverde Serna, and I'm going to talk to you about my research proposal. Its name is Digital Detectives into Critical Thinking and English Second Language Development. Yeah. I want to make a question, a personal one. Have you been through this same scenario where you are giving a class, a lesson, you're teaching kids or your students, and they don't seem to buy it. Like they start using Gemini, ChatGPT for their productions, their output in activities that are supposed to develop their competences, whether they could be communicative or linguistical competences. Yes, the bigs, as Zimmerman was talking about, they don't do it. Yeah, they don't buy it. They aren't invested. They don't want to be part of it. Yeah. If you've been through the same situation as me and as many other teachers, because I assure you this is a global thing happening, this is the investigation you're looking for. This is the reason the location I was doing research upon is an educative institution called Miguel Angel Martin, which resides in Villavicencio. It's a public institution where all people can get in. In this case, middle to low socioeconomic status is more prone to peer. And I found some things that I want to address about this context. Yeah. Basically, the first one, there's like a digital paradox, and it's to me a clash of interests and motivations. Whereas the school doesn't have a thematic, like a method, a methodology to teach students English by itself, right? It teaches, quote unquote, according to the coordinator, it teaches students English by thematics or themes. Let's say weather, global warming, let's say food, or those kind of things that can be summarized in vocabulary, right? So it seems there is a wide gap in access and use of digital resources, right? But also there's a high obsession with social media and influencer culture. So the kids are prone, they prioritize other things, yeah, living in a digital world, right? Being part of these recent trends, participate in what's hot right now, yeah. But the school can't provide it, yeah. So what happens if we don't do that, yeah? And what can we do about it? So I want you to start making yourself those questions, all right? The second thing that I addressed about this institution that was that there is a curriculum issue. Yeah. I say this due to the low hourly intensity, which is 2 to 3 hours per week. So imagine yourself studying English only 2 or 3 hours per week. Like, do you think that's enough? I'm not saying it is or it is not. I'm just making questions, right? The next thing I'm doing is lack of specialist teachers. Yes, I'm mentioning this. According to the coordinator, in an interview I had with her, she said that there's a lack of specialist teachers in primary school, which, as a result, it causes gaps in transition to secondary. Just imagine a primary kid, yeah, struggling with vocabulary, words, invested in other things, in games, video games, influencers, and suddenly he has to transition from primary learning words, vocabulary, to secondary developing competences, right? Making speeches, presentations, expositions. Man, it's a hassle. Yeah. So that's another question we could ask ourselves, like, is it really the school teaching us to speak English or just reproduce it? Yeah. The last thing I'm addressing is the cultural impact as well, and it has to do with all the prior issues I talked about, and is that the students glorify easy digital success. What do I mean with this? By this, sorry, is that most kids, according to observation, yes, some quick questions and the interviews I did to the coordinator, some teachers and students, is that they prefer this kind of content, yeah, which is not academical. Yes, they are starting to notice that, according to them, it's easier to find a financial or economical growth into digital production than an academical effort or hard work. So this is concerning. Like, the world is changing right now as we speak. Education needs to change and adapt as well, right? So what happened according to this, all of this context, right? All these environments, I thought to myself and I said, hey, how does the low schedule intensity, the lack of specialist teachers, and the students' motivation affect the learning of English in the educative institution of Miguel Ángel Ángel Martín? But most importantly, because this is an participative, in, active investigation, is what things can be done about it. Yeah, I don't pretend to come there and do my research over the desk, right? Like, oh, it's happening this, and I'm going to consult some papers, and they should do that, right? No, I don't pretend to do that with this research. I pretend to be part of the context, make them participate, right, and find solutions. Yes, I'll explain the methodology of this investigation later. By this, I plan some objectives to follow. The general objective basically is explore the reasons and perceptions that explain the students' learning difficulties in English at Miguel Ángel Martín to find and design strategies towards it. It basically sums it up, right? Next ones. The specific objectives I planned to achieve this basically are three. Yeah. First one is identify the principal difficulties perceived by students in their learning process. Secondly, it's to analyze the reasons teachers and students assign to said difficulties, personal, pedagogical, or contextual, whether they are external or internal factors. Yes, I want to figure out what is happening. That's why this is a qualitative research. Yeah, we have to know the abstract, the reality, the context. Yeah, what they say, what they think, what's happening, right? So we have it covered here. Yes. So we have the perception from students, learning process, the reasons they assign to difficulties in learning English, and the third objective is, last but not least important, to propose strategies and suggestions based on research findings to battle those difficulties. You know, every single investigation has to do its research, theoretical, conceptual, any, right? So I want this to be of use. Yes, the things, the findings, the concepts I research on, I want to try them out and seek a good answer that can suit those those issues I addressed and fight them back or fight them off. Any phrasal verb works. Okay, what's the hypothesis I was planning to do? Like, oh, so these are my objectives, but how can I make them real? Yes, how can I materialize them? Yes, so I thought about implementing the task-based language teaching, yeah, framework, centered on the analysis of real-world, digitally relevant cases. Yes, and the result I expect is that it will effectively address the low world intensity and lack of authentic communication by fostering critical thinking and promoting self regulated learning. It sounds very complicated, but let me sum it up, right? Let me explain it to you. Basically, what I want is that they learn an authentic speech. Yeah, they learn to communicate authentically by addressing problems and finding solutions to it. Yes, so this project proposes to develop leadership, critical thinking, yes, and a natural approach or in an integrative approach to learning English. Yeah, English shouldn't be seen as another subject. Yeah, it shouldn't be seen as another subject, but rather a way of expressing and thinking. Yeah, a way they can develop their competences. And when I say this, is for them to turn competitive in these recent trends and world. Yeah, what happens to a person that doesn't know how to use the internet, man? It's not gonna be easy for them to survive in this world, right? So this is what I intend to, like, make them learn how to find solutions to problems. Yes, by analyzing real world digital cases that they want, that they are interested about. In this case, the research I did, for example, I did like a resource, and it's about just that, a digital educational resource, and it's about addressing this digital problem, which is Mr. Beast, and it appears to attract a lot of kids. Yeah. So where does he get his money from? Is it ethical what he does? Right? So you start to promote them into doing their own research. Yeah. You start encouraging them. Hey, like, is it real? Like, is it a problem? Right? And make them fix it by giving them the tools to do that. Yes? So it's amazing. What are the tools? Self-regulated learning, critical thinking. Yes? TBLT. You got it. So what am I basing my research and findings of? Right? Basically, I could summarize it into three categories or dimensions. First one is second language acquisition and methodology, which I think is very important according to the context I addressed, the lack of specialist teachers, uh, the low early assignments, um, and some sorts. Yeah, in this case, I want to talk for the author Stephen Krashen. It helped me out to clarify what truly was important when learning English. When we're learning English, we have to take into account the input and output processes. Yeah, it's not as easy as showing information and just memorizing it. No, we as teachers need to take into account the input hypothesis. Basically, is the process of adaptability and having good content available according to their level. Yes, to develop those competences and adapt to that level as well. So we as teachers have to be designers. Yeah, we have to address the problems in the classroom. Yeah, seek for guidance, seek doing research, yes, about what can work for our students, yes, and make content about that. If they are interested about Mr. Beast, find something to do about him, yes, and mostly that, make it a reliable content. We can't go into the internet and search whatever. No, we have to design it. It sounds hard, but with recent technology, it's totally possible. Other author I talk about is David Noonan. He proposed the task-based language teaching for authentic communication, and is that they tried many methods time ago, like the audio-lingual method and all of those repetitive or mechanic methodologies that in that time they seemed to work, but not for everyone, right? Or maybe they weren't as efficient. So in this case, the efficiency of learning a second language is due to, you know, a good content, a quality content adapted to their level. Yes. But most importantly, what do you do with that content? Yes. Talking about the media, do you remember the last video you watched on social media? What was it about? Do you remember another video? Yeah. Do you remember a video that you watched 2 days ago? Can you say specifically what happened in the video? There you have it. Sometimes we are very accustomed, or we learn by our academical experiences, that it is better to memorize. Yeah. And this is not true. Yeah. What we remember is what we do and what we develop, right? If we learn how to do something, it's gonna stick out with us all life because it's something meaningful. Yes. For example, you learn to ride a bicycle not because you read a lot of papers or you did a lot of investigation about it and how to do it. Yeah. No, it's because you mixed that learn, those advices, yes, that theory, with practice and with a production which was a meaningful experience. What was the meaningful experience? Being able to ride a bike. Yes. So this is what we have to focus on. Design content and information for our kids or students to develop skills and abilities. Yes. We don't need no one who knows everything. We don't need a book. We need a tool. Yes, it sounds strange, but I think it was a good analogy, right? The second, the second concept I'm working on, yes, the dimension I'm working on, it's basically the student's autonomy. Yeah, many times people only focus on the teacher, but it's also important to focus on other factors and roles that are implied in the process as well, such as, for example, the responsibility and duty of the student in their own process. Like, yeah, we know they have to participate in their own learning, right? But how? Yeah, Zimmerman says that as a student, you have to regulate yourself to combat mental laziness, which is not laziness really. Yeah, it's not really laziness. It's more like a lack of motivation or meaning. So, do you do you understand how all of it connects, right? Like the seek of meaning from them into the digital resources are making them dwell into other activities which are not academically dependent. Yes. So, returning to this, the OECD also said in 2025 that critical thinking as a shield should be used against digital misinformation. Kids want to be in this digital world, right? And it's undeniable. Like it's impossible to stop them, right? So what can we do about it? We have to teach them how to navigate over this seas of information, or well, much better, misinformation. Yes. So what is truly good, what's correct, what's incorrect to them, right? According to their thinking, their thoughts. So it's important to teach them those ways of thinking as well, which language can aid to. The third dimension I want to talk about is the context and the motivation. Gardner basically talk about that. Like sometimes students don't want to learn or they don't want to study because they lack motivation. But motivation is nothing abstract, really. It's something that can be addressed in two things: instrumentality and integrativeness. Many students want to learn English because they want to use it. Yeah, they want the benefits, the profits of learning another language, which is totally correct. Other students, they want to be part of that culture. They want to express themselves in that culture. Yeah, they want to use it for their own moral or emotional needs. Yes. What's the problem then? Both of them seem right. Yeah. The problem is not having any, having no meaning in learning. If you were learning something that wasn't meaningful to you, that you thought it was a waste of time, would you still be doing it? Another question, right? Also, comments about this dimension, he said that we have to take a peek about additive versus subtractive bilingualism and the family linguistic capital. Yes, uh, these terms talk about seeing English as a way of adding things to your life. Yeah, adding skills, knowledge, ideas, information which can help you in your daily basis. Yes, it should be a profit, not a disadvantage. Yes, the English classes should be a benefit, an advantage. It shouldn't be the other way. Yeah, it shouldn't be subtractive or boring or dual. Yes, in this case, the family linguistic capital, it talks about the family members being invested as well, and it's kind of true that that's another core problem, and is that parents, sisters, brothers, they don't want to be involved with the language at all. And there it seems to be the culture that if you speak in English, it feels wrong when you can speak in Spanish. So what's happening here? Yeah. If the family, friends, relationships matter to build knowledge, which means and is important, so we have to take it into account to like integrate the family, integrate people outside. That's what these recent methods are talking about, them flipped classrooms. Yeah, that was my theoretical framework. In continuation, I've been planning an implementation plan. The first dimension is about the analysis of perceptions, influences, and difficulties in, teaching English. Yeah. The techniques I was thinking about were a semi-structured interview to the coordinator and teachers, are also some focal groups to promote the students a debate about their inspirations, difficulties, and the relevance of English in their lives. Yeah, so this goes according to the perceptions, knowing what's the reason, what's happening. Yeah, that's the qualitative method for you. The second dimension that I focus on it's designing and co-creating didactic strategies. Yes, as you know, I want to propose things for improvement. Yes, the techniques I want to do is a participative co-creation or prototype workshop. Yeah, so I want to create a workshop with the students, the teachers, right, where the digital educative resource, which DUNAT is providing me, yeah, fortunately, it is shown as a research example, yeah. So it's basically the example of how you can design a class, activities, and problems for your students to solve. As a result, I'm gathering students and teachers to design and co-create an English class. Yes. So not only the teachers have a role or have a voice in the design and the creation of the classes, but also the students. The methodological design, it should be firstly identifying the main difficulties which are perceived in the learning process of grade 10th in the educational institution Miguel Ángel Martín. Yes, that was the first objective, right? I was thinking of a semi-structured interview. I need an interview guide, which I already made with the audio and the recordings. Yeah, you can check it out. Also, on the second objective, it was analyzing the reasons teachers and students assigned to set difficulties. Yes, so I thought of focal groups. Yes, for that, I thought of some techniques such as a field planning, uh, a field diary. Sorry, a field diary. And the third objective is to propose strategies and suggestions based on the research findings to fight the difficulties. Yeah. For that, that's the prototype workshop, which follows this kind of guide that's made of three steps and stages. The first one is, well, it's called PPR. Yes. The first one is process, the second one is product, and the third one is resource. So basically, it's the organization of the project that all of us are working on. Yes. So first, we introduce the project. What are we intending to do? Yes. We teach them some things about it. Yes. So they can do it according to our research findings and intentions. Yes. The second, the product, it's basically, as the name implies, we're producing the class, we're making it. Yes. And the resource, as you can showcase it, making materializing it. Yes. So introduction, plan, and production. Yeah, I could summarize it in that way. Uh, I also have them if you want to look them up. The last thing is expected results. Really hope, I really hope this helps for the institution. Yeah, I expect 10 things really. The first one would be honest social validation of perceptions, experiences, and problems in English learning. Yes, like for them to understand and realize that teaching English is not as simple and that they can participate in that as well. Not only teachers, not only the coordinator, students, and family too. Yes, and they can do it in different ways that they like or they are interested in. Second thing, I expect them to have an appropriate use of questions and answers in English. Yes, so by these classes, by these, let's say, these proposals I have, I also want to show them, to teach them how they can develop certain abilities and skills such as making questions, answering them, understanding them. Yes, those are competences I'm intending to make them develop in my intervention. The third thing I expect is the development of evaluative, argumentative, opinion-giving competences, basically critical thinking. Yes. So by using the case analysis method, yeah, the focus, they are going to be able to acquire this kind of thinking and create sentences accordingly. It doesn't have to be the most complicated sentence or, an essay, but at least it kind of shows and clears out that is possible, even if it's just a paragraph. They can develop those ideas and skills. Four, I expect them to have the acquisition and application of argumentative vocabulary in English, the same as before. Yeah, like not only know how to do it, but what words to use. Yeah. Five, improvement in coherence and fluency in English. Yes, of course. Like if you're talking, you're in a conversation, you don't try, you try to sound natural, right? So we can reinforce that just by doing the intervention. Six, appropriation of the case analysis approach for the teaching and learning of English. Yes. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, the case analysis approach. It's for two things: the kids to be part of their own learning process, yes, and the teachers to understand that there are more ways to teach and design a class. Got it? Yeah, it's basically showing them a more efficient way and some proposes that they could use. Seven, active participation in the digital educational resource and the proposal of strategies. This is something I expect a lot because sometimes kids or students or teachers aren't very receptive. I'm not saying they are, but it's something I expect that happens and I hope it doesn't. Yes. Eight, development of propositional competences. Yes. So I want them to understand as well what do they need, what they need, and why. Yes. Because I feel in this research I've been talking about a lot about developing competencies and all of that. But what does it imply? Yeah. So I want them to learn that too by my intervention. Nine, provides ideas and suggestions supported by experiences and facts. Yeah. So, as you can see, they have to use different themes, thematics, grammar, vocabulary, and skills to be able to do that. This is what the TBLT is about. Yes, like being able to do things, providing ideas, suggestions, support it, argument it. Yes. The 10th thing is development of critical thinking. Yeah. And after that, for those things, I design a, let's say, I design a digital educational resource by using the platform the university gave me. Yeah. In this case, I want to talk about many things. In this case, first, the title is Digital Detectives as the research. Yeah. I feel it suits it very well. Basically, as you can see, the case analysis follows three steps, which is the preparation, the process, the debate, and some results. Yeah. So by those stages, those moments in the class, the teacher can move from one role to another. So in one phase, in one stage, you are the designer, you are the one giving instructions, and the next stage, you are the one giving material, right? Giving the tools, yeah. You let them space, yes. You are more like a mentor, and the last stage, you as teacher, you can be an evaluator, yes. So it's always changing and it's always meaningful for them because you let them experiment, yes, and you let them create hypotheses where they can learn and experiment on. That's what Krashin was talking about, and Michael Long as well. Yes. So a case analysis, investigation, active participation. Yeah, as I implied in the first moments and minutes of this uh, presentation. This investigation goes through the participative, active investigation, yeah, which also relies on the participants, which are the students and teachers. So I want them to integrate as well, yes, and they can do it by this class by understanding it, like identifying it. I was thinking about teachers making their own file field diaries, like I don't know, give their own ideas or feedback about this. So I'm very thrilled about what could happen. The third thing is qualitative. Of course, this investigation is qualitative. So the DER, I'm gonna call it that way, DER. The DER is supposed to, touch this kind of problematics, digital problematics that they are interested about, right? And work as researchers as well. Yes. The ABT or C basically is the learning, the TBLT, yeah, the task-based learning. Yes. So as you can see in the different case analysis phases, you can see that I'm making questions. Yes. I am placing objectives and I'm giving tools and problems for them to discuss and find solutions. Yes. So I never say yes or I say no. Yeah. I just let them interact, uh, develop their own ideas. Yes. And give them tools to do so in English. Also, as you can see, I'm using a bilingual method. Yes, Spanish and English as well, because we think that the transversalization of different languages can help as well, because what's truly important is understanding. Yes, understanding is key for learning in English. Yes, uh, Roberts and Richardson said that first, and Krashen did it as well with the input theory hypothesis. And the last one is communicative and linguistic competences. Yeah, as you can tell, there's not there aren't exercises about, hey, learn 10 words and learn them in past simple or past participle, yes, or make 10 sentences in past participle or change them. Yeah, I'm not using those kind of activities because that's not my goal. My goal is that they do something different, something more complex. Yeah, if I want them to practice, I could use them. They are totally available. Yeah, but you as a teacher, you have to identify when and where to use it. Yes, because if I try to make my students give opinions, true opinions, natural opinions, where they can express themselves, I'm not going to make a fill the gap. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna use it for preparing them, and that's in the phase one. And even though you can make it in phase two, but that's it. You have to be knowledgeable about the things you're doing as a teacher. Other things, do the screenshots, as I promised. The DER also shows, the materials, the tools basically they can use of. Also, some tools they can use so they can regulate themselves. For example, self-regulated learning, which is by Zimmerman. He said like, oh, let's give them, for example, checklists. So, what's missing? What do I have to do? So I am not constantly reminding them, but they are, yes, so they feel responsible for their own learning. There's also a timer, so hey, we have to be savvy or wise about our time. Yeah, we don't have all the class. Yeah, attacking the lack or the low early intensity as well. Also, it says the transition to Cummings that Cummings said. This is kind of a resource that is supposed for all the levels. Yeah, it seems a bit complicated, but you as a teacher, you can design it to adapt it to different grades. It could be something less complex. Let's say, let's describe things, for example. What things do you need? You need verb to be, you need present simple, you need a lot of things, a lot of knowledge where they can choose and experiment and finally have an hypothesis of how the language works. Yes? In this case, I chose 10th grade for my investigation. So that's the reason I'm using, yeah, I'm asking for opinions, analyze, make conclusions, yes, read, watch a video with subtitles, all of that, and conclusions. Last thing, leadership development. As the OECD implied in 2025, we need to develop leadership, yeah, and this kind of thinking into the youngsters, the youth, for them to, be part of society, civilization, yeah, take control on the important matters. So, yeah, if they are interested into the digital world, at least they have the resources, the tools to be able to do it and recognize what is truly important, what is worth their time, and what can they do in it. Tallies as well is something it was mentioned. Like as a teacher, if you don't know what to do in certain situations, there's like a global group where they can help you out with some resources or ideas. So I recommend to check it out. I did for this resource as well. And the linguistic interdependence, as I said, with the bilingual method. That's it. Yeah, the input and exposure as well. Yes. So, sorry, this is very important. The input and exposure in the DER and the class itself, I try to focus more on their exposure and their use of English. Yeah, I'm not, as a teacher in this method, I'm not going to try to talk a lot. No, that's not gonna be your job. You're gonna, I already told you, designer, motivator, yes, mentor, all of that, for them to interact with the information, receive it, make hypotheses, yes, be exposed to it and practice it. It's 2 or 3 hours, it doesn't matter, but we use it efficiently. Yeah. So we have some things here, some literature review as well, like some ethical problems that we may face in this investigation. Basically, the first one is informed consent and privacy. I'm thinking a lot about what could happen towards this. Like maybe there are strict protocols for recording interviews or focal groups, or maybe it's impossible to do the videos of the class, right? Or it's very complicated. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, anonymity for all the minors. Yes, it's kind of complex in that queue. Maybe photos could be another way to do that. The second ethical conundrum would be respect for cultural context. Yeah. Uh, the last thing I want to do as a researcher or an investigator is like stigmatizing someone there. I know they are like low middle status and some of them have other motivations or influences. Yeah, your job as a teacher is not going to be judging people. Yes, that's not your job because you're the first one who knows and understands why they do that. Yes. So your job there is to show them other other ideas, other ways to see the life, right? So in this case, that's it. Avoiding stigmatization of students' digital culture or socioeconomic background. So we have to validate their interests because they matter, right? And they can be helpful. The third thing, although when I'm seeing this one, I'm thinking more about this the teachers. Maybe they don't take it that right, like it's more work. Like no, do we have to do that? I don't want to participate. Yeah, maybe there's a clash of ideas or paradigms. Yes, that could be hard. The third problem could be non-maleficence in intervention. Yeah, basically, when we are doing this kind of content, we have to be very careful with the information and the input we are selecting. Yes. For example, I tried using a very family-friendly influencer, for example, Mr. Beast. Yes, he's very family-friendly in his videos, and I had to watch the videos I was intending to present the students. Yes, so that could be time-consuming, but it's worth it, and maybe that could be a problem to teachers, but I don't know. Yeah. The conclusions, to me, I could make it short, like in only three concepts. First, time maximization. Obviously, it's not that easy to like change the curriculum because everything is working together as it can, right? And it's not my job to say that, ah, no, everything you do is wrong. No, that's not my job. My job is to make the most with the little I have, with the less I have. Yeah, make the most with the less I have. That's an expression. Second thing is critical motivation. Teachers, we have to, it's something we must do. We must understand our students' interests and motivation, yeah? Not as caprichos, but as opportunities of learning, yes? And to make your job easier. And the third thing is student agency. Yeah, it's to make them be responsible. Yes, if they want to participate that much, let them be responsible for their actions, for their learning. Yes, we can't pretend to do everything for them. And these are the references if you're asking. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think this was a very long proposal, but I really can't make it any shorter. Yes, I had to explain everything. But well, thank you so much for coming and have a very nice rest of the day.